lacking, and he had to sell the farm. And then what does she have? Find another rich boy to marry? I just don't want one more woman to DM me, comment, send me their stories, cry to me about how hard it is for them to support their families, and I am so tired of living my own story. We have to make this stop. Raise your daughters to be financially independent. Focus on their futures and educations just as much as you focus on your sons. I wish that someone had done that for me.
Perfect. That's the perfect start to this video. Hi, my name is Florence, and I'm a Black woman living in Germany who loves reading books. That video has inspired me so much. I'll share a lot of videos that I've found on TikTok and also here on YouTube, which have inspired me on top of this book. This is Educated by Tara Westover, a memoir by a young woman who grew up in a Mormon family, a family that was part of the Mormon religion. And just like the video that I shared, which she's a TikToker, but she's also now on YouTube. She's amazing. I'm so happy that she decided to come out and talk about her life. It's like just reading a memoir. I love it when women, and especially women of a certain age, women of a grown age, come out and say, hey, young ladies, stop it. Stop it with this fantasy about Tradwives. I have also seen, I'm sure you have also seen so many videos online now at the moment of women praising this Tradwife kind of living. Growing up in Kenya, growing up in Africa, in particular in Kenya, there were people who I saw growing up who were also Tradwives. But the difference is they tried to do even a small business. The husbands were like, okay, I know you are staying at home, but let me open for you a small business so that you can also have some money. But there are some who, of course, never did anything. And in the end, when in most cases, the men decided to marry second wives. In Kenya or in most parts of Africa, polygamy is allowed. So we saw families, these women suffering because their husbands, who are also the main or the sole providers, marrying second wives. Then that's when you'd see them scurrying around trying to find a way out. But I'm surprised to see these old tradition. It's not even old. I don't know where it came from, but it's something that women fought against. Women fought for their rights to work, for the right to leave the home, for the right to decide on what kind of life they want to lead, for the right to education. Women fought for this, the right to the right to vote, the right to say no to marriages, the right to say, no, I don't want kids. And it is so sad to see young people, young women deciding to go for this Tradwife. And the worst thing is they are advertising it. And there are people, there are young women who watch this kind of content and they think, wow, this is goals, life goals, relationship goals. I could also get this. Get me a man who is a provider, a high value man to take care of me and my children. What happens when he decides he does not want to take care of you anymore? He is not interested. Just like she said, she didn't go to school. She regrets not going to college. She regrets having kids so early. She regrets having kids, having so many kids, because at the end of the day, she's the one to take care of them. The man is just walking around. He has not even paid he's not paying alimony. He's even stopped going to work because he doesn't want to pay alimony. And that is exactly the story that we find here in Tara Westover's memoir. In Tara Westover's memoir, where she talks about not being allowed to go to school. Her brother's going to school, she was not allowed because her parents believe that there's no need to educate a girl. At the end of the day, she's going to get married. I am so happy that we are able to see such women. Older women come and say, young women, please stop it. And all these women that we are seeing online who are praising or depicting this happy Tradwife, they are working. They are earning their money through social media. All these clicks and shares and all, that's how they make their money. They are actually taking care of their families, not even the men. But as when we watch it, the young girls are like, wow, goals, I want to try. No, 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 no. Let me share another video.
I was exploited by Mormon patriarchy. I was born and raised Mormon, and I lived the religion, had 6 kids, married in the temple, BYU, he went on a mission, everything. Now, we all find ourselves in life doing things that we never thought we would do, making mistakes. Now, there's room for mistakes, except for the big nasty, the big one. Well, I was disfellowshipped as long as I decided to stay in my marriage and work on it. Now, the patriarchy wasn't so concerned that I had marital problems. They weren't concerned that there was some verbal abuse, that there was some polypharmacy issues going on where there was quite a bit of pharmaceutical use on the part of my husband that was affecting our marriage. They weren't concerned that he was hiding money from me or having private businesses. They weren't concerned about schmormography on the part of this husband of mine who would routinely go on his iPad and search how to delete his iPad history. But after I divorced him, I started dating a 27-year-old with a CTR tattoo who happened to be the high priest's son. Now, that didn't look good. But I wasn't married anymore, and I did me. You know what? For the first time in my life, I got to date. For the first time in my life, I got to experience life. I had never dated before, never had fun. And I finally felt like I didn't have someone who was emotionally beating up on me all the time. Well, I got called in for another court hearing with the brethren. And I ignored it because I knew they were going to excommunicate me. I just ignored it. I was already disfellowshipped. It came, it went, and then I got a phone call from the bishopric. Sister Belle, we really want you to come in. We want to help you. We need you to come in. Please, please, please come in. They begged me to come in. So I went in. What I didn't expect was the graphic nature of the things that they would ask me. How many times? Where? Maybe they didn't like the part about the phone booth at San Diego Zoo. I don't know. Did I like it? Which orifice was it? And did I plan to continue? Well, I'm sure I knocked their socks off. Before I went in, Mr. CTR Tattoo told me just to go in and deny. I thought, hell no. I'm not going to deny. I was raised, if you're going to even bother, just be honest. But I was too honest for them. And the reality is, to stay in the Mormon church, you do have to deny. You do. They love hearing the details, but they hope you don't give them because they don't want to have to get rid of you. But if you're honest, you gotta go. So in all reality, I was excommunicated because I was an embarrassment to the community, is what I was told, and because I had held leadership positions. Now, keep in mind that I was sleeping with one of the high priest's sons who had a CTR tattoo. But because his priesthood was only the Aaronic and he had only ever, been a deacon, he wasn't held to the same standard as me. I should have known better. In fact, I don't think he ever was called in. And then when he cheated on me with an adult film star, he was able to baptize her. I just don't understand this church. I never will. And it's just funny, and I love to talk about it in my memoir because it's funny. I mean, it's really funny. I have learned in my life that there's not a lot of honesty in the Mormon church. Everybody wants to look good, save face, don't embarrass our community, and your husband might be a real bad guy, but stay married to him. That's the right thing to do. Naughty, naughty, naughty.
I love that woman. I love her video. I love her depiction of her story. You heard what she said, that there are rules in the Mormon church, but they apply differently when it comes to women or when it comes to men. They are judged differently. You see her struggling in her marriage, but she was not allowed to complain because she's the woman. Her job is to stay married. She got married so early and had kids. And she's supposed to stay in this marriage where she's not happy. There's infidelity, but she's expected to stay married. And then when she gets out, she gets involved with this other person. Of course, the person is part of the church. Patriarchy is back. And they're like, we need you to stop. But what about him? Why is he not being judged accordingly? Why is it only her who is being judged? Why do they do that? Why are they interested in controlling women? What about the men? If the woman is being told to stop whatever she's doing, she's not doing it alone. She's doing it with her husband. But oh no, it's always the woman who is at fault. And I'm so happy that these women are coming out and saying, no, not anymore to this religion. Not anymore to this religion. Judge us equally. Judge us equally.
So I'm a former Mormon tradwife. I have 6 kids. I'm 38 years old. I don't have an education. I got married young. I had kids young. And I absolutely gave up on my hopes and dreams to choose the life that I have now. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I felt like I had choices in my life, I would have hands down told you that I was incredibly happy with the choices that I made, and that I made those choices knowing full well what I was choosing. Now that I've been out of the church for 3 years, I will tell you that I was never actually given a choice, because I see that the choices that I were given were not given in an honest light. It's not fair to show someone 10 candy bars and say, hey, you can choose this candy bar, which is the right candy bar that you should choose, or you can choose these 9, which are poisonous and deadly, and if they don't kill you, they're going to kill all of your friends and family members. What would you like to choose? That's how choices are given in Mormonism. So when you're in it, you feel like you're making a choice that makes you happy. And to be fair, like, I was happy in the sphere of what I knew happiness was, which in Mormonism, sacrifice and suffering is required for happiness. You're taught that everyone else's happiness outside of the Mormon church isn't real happiness. The joy you feel being Mormon, even though it comes with pain and suffering and sacrificing the choices that you actually would have made had you been presented the entire truth, is better and more and real. So are Mormon women truly choosing their lives and being happy with their choices? I think it depends what you consider choice and what you consider happiness. But I will say that for me, leaving Mormonism was the first true choice that I ever made. I didn't know life could be this amazing.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Such videos make me so happy. Do you hear what she said? She never knew happiness. Leaving the Mormon church, now she knows what the true meaning of happiness is. Because of information control, thought control. You're only given options. You're told suffering is part of happiness. The joy of being part of the Mormon church, it's sacrificing, and especially women, we are expected to sacrifice. You're always sacrificing. You're always being like a servant. You're in servitude. Your life is in servitude to your husband, to your church, to your family, to your children. And that is where you're supposed to get your happiness from. It's the minute you come out of this hole, that you experience real happiness, where there are choices. There are choices. You want to go to school. You have a choice. What do you want to study? You have a choice. How many children do I want to have? Do I even want to have children? Do I even want to get married? Do I want to work in the house or do I want to work outside the house? That's when you realize there are choices and there is joy outside of these realms that you're born and brought up in. And the church just using patriarchy or patriarchy using church to bring down these women, to discourage them, to tell them that this is it. There is nothing more. This where we are, this is it. There is nothing more. This is joy. This is happiness. A man defines for you your happiness. I'm so happy that this woman said, stop. She got out and she took her children with her and she's now experiencing true happiness. According to her, she defines what happiness is to her. We get to define what happiness is to her as. And we see that in the book with Tara being able to travel, being able to leave rural Idaho, which is the only place she's ever known, and going out and eating out and meeting new friends and going to cinemas and going to museums and reading books and discovering there's joy out here, there's happiness out here. She thought what she thought was happiness, what she experienced when she was growing up, she realizes there is more out here. There is more joy, there is more happiness out here that I can experience. I can make friends. I can eat whatever I want. I can go to the hospital. I can plan for the future and not be scared about the world ending. That is happiness. Choice, having a choice. Having choices, that is happiness.
BYU is a Mormon church-sponsored university, and these are some of the rules that the students are required to follow as part of attending the university. If they don't follow them, they are at risk of getting kicked out. Men are not allowed to grow beards at BYU, though mustaches are allowed, and unnatural hair colors are also not permitted, so you couldn't dye your hair something like blue or green. You're also required to take a ton of religious courses in order to graduate, and I spent multiple semesters taking classes about the Book of Mormon. There are no short shorts permitted on campus and no tank tops either. You're also not allowed to have more piercings than just one modest set of piercings in your ears. BYU is rated as one of the most dry campuses in the country, and there's no alcohol on campus and also no coffee or tea and no other substances of any kind. Students are required to go to church on Sunday in order to stay enrolled, and students are also required to practice strict abstinence, and anything breaking the law of chastity of any kind could get you kicked out of the university. While unmarried couples who are straight can have some PDA like holding hands or cuddling on campus, gay students are not even permitted to hold hands without potentially getting penalized.
Did you hear that? That's the university that Tara ended up going to. The BYU. When I was reading this book, it felt like I was reading fiction, only to go online and realize that all this is real. All this is real. The university that she talks about going to church. She talks about there's this feeling of you're in the university, but people are watching you. There are eyes on you. And this was the only university that her parents allowed her to go to. But as you can hear from that video, it's a university that is almost like a prison, I have to say that, where you are not allowed to pierce more than one earring. There is no relationships allowed between students. How you dress, how your hair looks, which hair color you have, which beard you have, what length of clothes you're supposed to wear. It's like a form of a prison. And that is university. We all know that in university, that's like when you're now an adult, you get to experience life. And I don't mean that you're supposed to do everything, but it's the time where you have that freedom. You're no longer living under your parents' house. You're discovering yourself. You're discovering your life. What do you like? And even when it comes to relationships, which kind of relationships are you planning to go into? Are you going to have casual? Are you going to be in serious relationship? Are you heterosexual? Are you cisgender or not? Are you gay? Do you identify as queer? All these discoveries that young people are supposed to have and to experience. But oh no, not in this college. And that is exactly what Tara also experienced.
5 ways I think Mormonism is similar to The Handmaid's Tale as an ex-Mormon. Men's spiritual revelation and religious power usually supersedes the power of women. Almost every leadership position in the church is inhabited by a man, and as a member of the church, I was taught that when the prophet, who's a man, speaks, the debate is over. Only men can hold the priesthood, and women have been barred from holding the priesthood since the inception of the religion. The voices of male religious leaders in my life were infinitely more important than my own thoughts or desires. Fertility is also highly valued in the church, and as a young girl growing up as a Mormon, I was taught that my primary role should be to be a wife and a mother. Many of my church activities growing up were centered very specifically on homemaking, where I learned how to take care of children and do things like planning a meal. In The Handmaid's Tale, there are very harsh punishments for any perceived immorality. While in Mormonism the punishments aren't nearly as severe, there is still a huge social pressure to adhere to strict moral codes. I was told that my virtue was one of my greatest values, and that the reason I didn't need to have a leadership position was because I already had the power of giving birth to children.
That you have the power to give birth to children. That is seen as a power. Of course it is a power because that's something that is bestowed on us from nature, but it doesn't mean that we should not do other things. It should prevent us from taking over other positions. You cannot even lead in a church. You cannot lead the family. You're meant to follow, to be subversive. You're in servitude to your husband and to your family. There is so much control that goes on in such religions. So much control. And it is so weird because as I was reading this book, I felt like, is this real? Is this real? When was this book written? And this is in the 90s. This was happening in the 90s. We see the way boys were being treated better than the girls. We see the control, the mind control that their father had on them. We see their mother actually being a victim of abuse and her in making the same mistakes that her husband did. She was just giving it further down to her children, and especially the girls.
If you're a woman deconstructing your religious faith, there will likely be many layers of patriarchy to unpack. Here are just a few for me deconstructing my Mormon faith. Number 1, purity culture. And honestly, this comment says it all. Shame and compliance go hand in hand. If someone can make you feel like you're not good enough, you're constantly looking for that piece that will make you whole. And of course, in religion, this is the system that offers that piece. So compliance, shame, they go hand in hand. Number 2, a covenant to obey my husband. And I know that one is obvious, but couple it with the fact that we as women had to veil our faces in the most important parts of the temple. My face could not be present. It's mind-blowing. Next, let's talk about loud laughter and our promise to not. The message here is that women are not to take up space. My face can't take up space. My voice can't take up space. And when I think about now what it was like walking into those holy spaces, church, the temple, even my home. In the Mormon faith, the role for women is to play small. When I got married, I had to give myself to my husband. Not only is he my gateway, I know that I can't enter heaven until he calls my name. My entire salvation is hinging on him. As I unpack my lifelong Mormon faith, no matter how many times leadership tells us that we're special and they love us and we have such an important work to do, it's blatantly obvious that women are an accessory.
That sums it all. Women were seen or are seen just as an accessory. The husband is everything. And the shame that is put on you The shame, Tara could not even walk outside. If you see him talking to a boy or to a male friend, hey, what are you up to? What is going on? We see that. We read that in the book, and we see the way this lady talks about it. The shame that is, the patriarchy, the use of patriarchy by the church, by the religion, to shame women. And what does this shame do? It puts you in some sort of like a cage. It holds you inside this cage. You're scared to go out. You're scared to try out new things. You're scared to complain because this is all you've known. Even you're born into this family, you're born into this religion. You see your parents, you see your mother, your older sisters acting this way. So you just follow it automatically. And then it switches when you're supposed to get married. When you get married, you're supposed to continue like that. If you have daughters, it's just the same thing. Patriarchy using religion. Patriarchy using religion to undermine women, to make life for them very, very difficult. And we see that. We see that in this book. And I'm so happy that Tara wrote this. She wrote of her experiences. She wrote about how she uses education to break free. And in as much as she really suffered, she felt she was demonized. She was treated as an outcast by her family because now she'd gone out and done what she wanted to do. So she was told, you can't come back. We can't associate with you anymore. You are an outcast. You're not part of this family. But we see her with grace, talking about her family with grace and with love and with forgiveness. But she also knew, if I go back, that will be it. Because she came out of this cage and she saw the joy and the happiness that was out here. She could read. She could visit museums. She could visit friends. She could learn about history, so much that she never knew. Because in this Mormon culture, Mormon religion, the men decide what to teach, what is being taught. There's only this, so far that you're allowed to come out, so far like this. And Tara grew wings. She grew wings through education and flew out. And I'm so happy for her. And it makes me sad because I know there are some women, there are some children, there are some girl children who will never get out. We see the hold that these sort of religions, sort of cults have on some families, have on some people. But I'm happy that Tara and others are talking about it. They're explaining what happened to them. They are warning other people. They are warning other girls. Things I never knew I would even read. But thank God for such books, because now I also learn about the different cultures. I learn about things that someone would say, if it's African, that's backward. This is rural Idaho in the US. This was happening. This book, I highly, highly recommend it. Tara Westover, Educated by Tara Westover, a memoir, it is marvelous, it is dazzling, it is a page turner. It opens up our mind, it opened up my mind, it opened up my eyes so that I could learn more and more about the Mormon culture. And I'm so happy that more and more content creators, more and more people who are born in these religions are coming out and saying, no, I'm done. And this is what I went through. They have to unlearn so much. Some have to go to therapy because it is ingrained in you. And especially as a woman, it is ingrained in you, the abuse. Physical, emotional, financial abuse that they go through. And I highly, highly recommend you to go online and find out more about all these different cultures, all these different religions. The information is out there. Let us find it. Reading is political. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like, comment, and share. And don't forget to subscribe and join me for the next video. Bye-bye.